The internet is still buzzing after several students were denied their high school diplomas because of how they walked on stage. I shared this now viral video on my Twitter last Friday of a student at Philadelphia's High School for Girls doing the gritty. That's a dance for you old people. After her name was called, the crowd laughed and the principal refused to give her the diploma on stage. This is just one of the several instances that night where the principal withheld diplomas after the student celebrated. Now, to be clear, there are no rules that restrict the student's behavior. The rules only apply to the audience. The district defended the students who were denied their diplomas on stage. They apologized and made sure that students received their diplomas that night off stage. Joining me now is Kim Klacik. She is former GOP congressional nominee for Maryland's 7th Congressional District. I want to welcome you back to the show. Kim, it's good to see you. I remember tweeting last week, and you commented under my tweet defending the school. I got to say, you surprised me. You said your daughter knows better than to do this, and that the reaction, quote, from her classmates and the audience showed that behavior is not tolerated. What pushed you to take that position?
Well, I think there's always a great time to learn personal responsibility. Look, I know this young lady probably wanted to celebrate, and I know a lot of those girls, they went through school during the pandemic, right? And they have a lot to be proud of. But at the same time, that ceremony wasn't just about her. I did see her interview after she was denied the diploma on stage. I was happy to hear that she did receive her diploma later on that day. But she said it was all about her, and she felt like that the principal took away her moment. Those graduation ceremonies are for everyone, and I was happy to see that some of the Girls High alum were commenting on the story as well, and they said, you know what, we've always just had that rule is to not do something that would get the audience going, because the next girl behind you is going to come up, and some people might not hear her name. So I know emotionally we want to be proud of these girls, we want them to be able to celebrate, but I think if you're thinking logically and getting this ceremony done on time, and getting those girls off so they can go home and celebrate with their families, I think there's a time and place for everything.
So the rule, though, to be clear, is that you can't cheer for people on stage. So the girl didn't actually violate a rule. Whoever cheered in the crowd would have been the person violating the rule. Does it not seem like an odd rule that someone can be punished for the behavior of the audience? Like, what if my biggest enemy were cheering for me in the crowd and I got my diploma taken because they cheered?
Well, you know, unfortunately, look, I'm sure the principal would have looked at that situation differently, but she danced across the stage. She was a causation for that reaction, and that is why some people in the audience laughed. You know, I also have to say, Mark, you know, I ran a nonprofit in Baltimore for 8 years. We did workforce development. I employed many women, and so I went to many ceremonies where I saw people graduate from rehabilitation centers, reentry programs. And they know even, you know, the ceremony's not about them. And when I watched this young lady, I watched the tape over and over again.
Who's it about?
Beautiful young lady. A beautiful young lady. Let me finish here. A beautiful young lady. But when I watched it, you know what I thought? I thought to myself, she looked unemployable. And that's what I thought. She could have an employer sitting in that audience. She could have somebody in that audience that wanted to give her an internship over the summer. But she behaved in a way where, again, it was all about her. And, you know, like you said, she can't really control the reaction of the audience, but she's the reason that the audience reacted in that manner.
Okay, we probably agree to disagree on that. Again, it seems like an unfair, unjust law. Again, if someone can be punished for the behavior of others, that's not about responsibility. But I mean, yeah, when people graduate, it is about them. I mean, this girl worked hard for 4 years. Her 14-year-old sister had been murdered. She was happy and she was celebrating both for her and for her fallen sister. It seems like that is an opportunity to do so. And I get that there are rules, but some rules are unreasonable. And maybe, just maybe, celebrating after a huge accomplishment isn't the worst thing in the world. But while I got you here, let me ask you another question. There's a Utah school district that is returning the Bible to the shelves after public outcry. The Bible had been banned in Davis school districts, elementary and middle schools, after a parent complained that it contained violence and vulgarity. The same excuse was used to ban Amanda Gorman's poem. It was used to ban The Bluest Eye. It was used to remove Rosa Parks' race from books in schools. And then also in Chapin High School, an advanced placement lesson was shut down after they shared that Ta-Nehisi Coates' memoir, Between the World and Me, made them uncomfortable and ashamed to be white. Schools, in my mind, are tripping these days. Help me understand, if you can, why schools would be imposing these bizarre rules.
You see, I don't know why when it comes to the books. See, I'm one of these Republicans where I feel like history books like this, they should not be banned. I was one of those spoke up when we were removing Confederate monuments in cities like Baltimore or renaming schools because they had names like Robert E. Lee on them. I don't think that that should take place on either side of the aisle when it comes to anyone. So I don't know why Utah banned some of those books in the past, but that should have never happened. People should have the right and the freedom to educate themselves how they would like to educate themselves in certain situations. If there was in a library, look, I go to the library all the time. I pick up books that I want to read. Some of them I just pick them up because I'm like, look, I don't know much about this topic, but I would want to learn more. So for me, that really is, it just speaks to, I think maybe some of those schools and what they're trying to accomplish there by fighting against, a political agenda. But I really wish that they keep politics like that out of the schools altogether.
Well, that was going to be that was going to be my last question. I'll give you the final word on this. Some of it feels cynical. Like, I'm not even sure how committed they are really. I don't even know if they've read Ta-Nehisi Coates' memoir before they banned it. I wonder sometimes if this is just to placate certain sectors of their voting base to make them happy, as opposed to really being outraged by this book or that book.
No, you're probably absolutely spot on there. And, unfortunately, we've seen so many people get political these days, especially during the pandemic and after the fact. We had a lot of parents speak up at school board meetings. Those school board meeting videos viral. They ended up on different news stations. Of course, the media had different bias, whether it was Fox News or MSNBC, right? Everybody's got their own bias and own agenda. And they kind of weaponized this whole conversation. And I wish it would come to an end.
Well, from your lips to the Republicans' ears. Kim, always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.